Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to look at a pen that I gave a little glimpse of in my mail delivery video, I guess a few weeks ago. And it is an interesting pen. We're going to delve into my views on it and how it relates to other Chinese pens. It has an interesting logo, this Crocodile, which apparently predates Lacoste, and there was some discussion back and forth, but they decided to settle amicably and let each of them keep their logos. It's definitely a colorful pen with this striped barrel. We'll take off the little tag. Look at the pen a little closely. I like the logo at the top. You know, branding is certainly something they're not shy about. And it's also branded on the cap band. Classic, pretty tight clip, but a good clearance there. So once you get it over some thick fabric, it'll work good, or putting it into a pen case where you want to clip it in. And those stripes are nice. They're certainly green. Nice and parallel, consistent. Nothing on the bottom of the barrel, but again, you know, it's a design which I would call classic. You know, the cap finial is similar to the barrel finial. You know, the metal is in different spots. It's a pull-off cap, you know, so I tried to unscrew it. It's a pull-off cap. And we'll notice a nice branded nib. Nice two-tone nib. Very picturesque. 22 karat gold plate is certainly something I would get rid of if I was doing my marketing. A little bit of a different feed there, a little bit more stylized feed, certainly not the standard plastic feed we're used to seeing. Here's another metal band. Again, consistency in this design theme. That section's short as I go around the camera, but it fits nicely in the hand. And you may have noticed when I uncapped it, it did a nice solid click, and it also clicks to post. The cap is kind of heavy. It'll give you those weights. So this is probably a pen I would generally write with unposted, but there are some people that like to be able to put their cap someplace, and that is the end of the barrel. So for them, it'll work fine as long as they don't mind the weight. It's a fairly light pen without it being posted. As you probably surmised, it's a standard cartridge converter pen. A lot of turns. And there's actually a nice little label on the converter. And an engraved little logo there on the top of the converter. So that, I have to admit, like I said, they've really gone their extra effort to brand this pen as much as possible. Yeah, the converter's a good one. I always like it where there's a little soft insert there that seals well on the back of the section, and a nice little metal band there that keeps it from stretching out, one would hope. So I think we're going to compare this to some other pens, and notice the green piston knob there, that's also good. We're going to compare this to some other pens and then ink it up with an interesting ink and see how it writes. Well, the engineer says we need to look inside this cap. So there's a very extensive cap, plastic cap liner in there, and at the bottom is looks like that cap liner is screwed on to a metal screw that probably holds the finial in place. So let's take a look at the barrel under the light. Again, give you a little bit of a different look. You know, I like what they did. As I mentioned, how the cap snaps in place both to cap the pen and to post it. And I think that's a reason for this little lip there on these metal, the finial here at the end of the section here. And that just has that cap snap in place. So it's a good design. Like I say, it's classic, and of course I pulled a section off of the converter. So I quickly ran through some Chinese pens that I have and put together these three to compare to the Crocodile pen. Here's that Jinhao with the abalone inserts into the barrel, which I still think is a very, very nice pen. Goulet Pens was selling it, or may still be selling it. And here's another takeoff on that Jinhao with a wooden barrel. And at the top is a Duke pen, which has some subtle blue lines in the barrel. So I've done a full review on this abalone pen and the Duke pen. We'll put those links to those videos up above. But you notice they all have this metal finial at the top, a pretty decent sized cap band at the end of the cap. You know, an imitation blind cap. Some of them have another metal piece at the top. The Duke also has a nice little logo at the top of the cap. So to me, this is one of those common ubiquitous Chinese designs that these all could be made in the same factory for all I know, or all the factories copied each other when they found that, oh, this pen's popular, so let's see what we can do to sell it. Here are the pens posted, and they all post relatively well. The Crocodile pen has the most secure snap post, just like it has a nice snap when you put the cap on. Looking more closely at the business end, we'll see the Duke and the Crocodile share that larger nib, kind of number 6, but probably just slightly shy of that, where the two Jinhaos have that, I call it classic number 5 Jinhao nib, which is in most of their pens in the smaller side. You know, so they also notice the metal piece here at the end of the section. Section's about the same size, so the Duke and the Crocodile certainly share, or appear to share, a lot of components. Yes, I used a sample bottle of ink. I happened to have gotten this at the Gold Spot Pen Meetup a few months ago. They just had a big bucket full of samples. And I picked up 2 of each color so I can combine them, because as you can see, I filled the pen, but I still have a decent amount left in the sample bottle. So here's a color card. And my first response is, I wouldn't call it jade. I mean, I guess it's in that jade family, but I just expected a little bit more. It's kind of a bluish green. And when we look at the chromatography, we'll see exactly what it is. There's your yellow, and there's your blue, and there's your very intense blue. So, you know, interesting color, but for some reason, my expectations were different than what the color came out with. I was thinking more like the jade from Robert Oster. So we discussed this pen in a objective way. We did it subjectively, comparing it to other pens which I consider to be similar. So overall, this pen, I'm certain, would satisfy the majority of users out there, especially those that like a little heavier pen. A pen that has a substantial feel to it, because it's mostly made out of metal. So those that find acrylic pens or plastic pens too light, this would certainly satisfy that. It's done nicely, a little bit of attention to detail here and there. So, you know, overall, it's good. Is it worth the price? Well, my liking is for a different type of pen. I consider this a classic, but not a classic that appeals to me. But let's just see how the nib works. Overall, I'm happy with this nib. course, I have to spell nib right. I mean, it is very smooth. I didn't do anything to it. Nice consistent ink flow. The weight of the pen just doesn't feel comfortable in my hand. Yeah, if it's going to have weight, I'd like it more towards the nib side, and this weight is more balanced towards the upper end of the barrel. So let's rate this pen. I'm going to give it an 8.3. And 1 check for the nib. And 1 check for the build quality. But it just doesn't excite me, and to me, for a pen to be rated higher than that, it has to excite me. I like this nib. I like this nib. Here's what it looks like on Tomoe River paper with the ink. And there's a nice amount of shading. So overall, I have to admit that the Edelstein Jade has grown on me more than I expected. So we're coming to the end, so thank you for watching. May you have many great writing experiences. Explore this wonderful world of pens, inks, and paper. And make some designs with your ink. They could represent characters and words and sentences, or just some type of artistic expression. So this is now the end. And we're at the end of the paper, so it's a good time to do an end. So we're going to say bye. Until the next video, I enjoy the ink and this pen.